Look closely at the horizon where the Yangtze River meets the East China Sea. There, a colossal crane, one of thousands, is lifting a single 40-foot container, packed with 20,000 laptops, onto a waiting megaship. This single action is repeated millions of times a year. In 2025, the port of Shanghai is expected to handle a staggering 6 million 20-foot equivalent units, or TEUs, of cargo. This represents a projected increase of nearly 7% from the previous year, securing its title as the world's busiest container port for the 16th consecutive year. To put that into perspective, Shanghai alone moves more shipping containers than all 10 of America's busiest ports combined. This isn't just about a country's manufacturing output. It's about a geographic hand dealt by nature, amplified by strategic engineering, creating an almost unfair advantage in global trade. How does one city's port manage to outcompete an entire continental economy? I dug through the numbers and the maps, and the answer comes down to three interconnected geographic realities: an unmatched inland artery, a futuristic deepwater gateway, and an unparalleled manufacturing cluster. These elements combine to give Shanghai a unique, almost insurmountable, lead in the global supply chain. It's easy to picture a port as just a place where ships dock, but a port's true value isn't just its connection to the ocean, it's its connection to the land. Cargo doesn't magically appear on the docks. It travels from factories, often hundreds or thousands of miles away. Moving millions of containers efficiently and cheaply from inland production hubs to coastal shipping lanes is the biggest logistical challenge in global trade. Many nations struggle with this, relying on costly networks of trucks and trains. But China has a unique solution. The Yangtze River, stretching nearly 4,000 miles from the Tibetan Plateau to the East China Sea, is China's superhighway. It's the third longest river in the world, and unlike many rivers, a vast portion of its length is naturally navigable by large barges and vessels. For millennia, it has served as the lifeblood of China, reaching deep into the country's interior. Today, it forms an unparalleled inland freight artery. Barges capable of carrying hundreds of TEUs can travel thousands of miles upriver, linking major cities and industrial zones like Wuhan, Chongqing, and Nanjing directly to Shanghai's port. This river system, with its extensive network of tributaries and canals, functions as a massive, low-cost conveyor belt, making the movement of goods from hundreds of millions of people remarkably cheap. Compare this to the cost of moving goods by rail or truck over similar distances in the United States, and the Yangtze offers a massive competitive advantage. It's like having a free interstate highway system that costs almost nothing to maintain. This incredible river network feeds directly into the second geographic advantage. Even with an efficient inland network, getting those goods onto the biggest ships poses another challenge. Modern container shipping relies on ultra-large vessels, some over 1,300 feet long, capable of carrying more than 24,000 TEUs. These megaships, often called Triple E-class vessels, are the titans of the sea. They achieve incredible economies of scale, making global trade cheaper than ever before. But these behemoths require extremely deep water, often 50 feet or more, to safely dock when fully loaded. Most natural harbors, especially those near river deltas, simply aren't deep enough, or they suffer from constant silting that requires expensive, never-ending dredging. This is where Shanghai engineered its solution. Shanghai solved this deepwater dilemma with the Yangshan Deepwater Port, an audacious engineering marvel built on artificial islands nearly 20 miles offshore in Hangzhou Bay. Connected to the mainland by the massive Donghai Bridge, one of the longest cross-sea bridges in the world, Yangshan was specifically designed to bypass the shallow waters and silting issues of the Yangtze estuary. Its offshore location provides natural deepwater access, allowing the world's largest container ships to dock year-round, regardless of tide or weather. This means shipping lines don't have to wait or only partially load their vessels, saving millions of dollars in fuel and operational costs. For companies like Maersk or MSC, having direct, deepwater access to a port that connects to such a vast inland network is an undeniable magnet for trade. Yangshan isn't just a port, it's a strategic platform for global commerce, ensuring that Shanghai remains the preferred first call or last call port for Trans-Pacific and Asia-Europe shipping routes. Final piece of Shanghai's geographic puzzle is the sheer concentration of manufacturing within its immediate trucking distance. The Yangtze River Delta, encompassing Shanghai and surrounding provinces like Jiangsu and Zhejiang, is one of the densest industrial clusters on Earth. Within a radius of just a few hundred miles, you find cities like Suzhou, Hangzhou, and Ningbo, which are home to thousands of factories producing everything from electronics and textiles to machinery and automotive parts. This tight geographic clustering minimizes the last-mile cost, the expense of moving goods from the factory floor to the port gates. For a manufacturer in Suzhou, just an hour's drive from Shanghai, trucking a container to the port is incredibly cheap and fast. This manufacturing density, combined with the Yangtze's inland artery and the Yangshan deepwater access, creates a logistics ecosystem that is unmatched globally. Goods can be produced, moved by barge or a short truck ride to a deepwater port, and then loaded onto the largest vessels for global distribution, all with minimal friction and cost. This geographical synergy means that for many global companies, manufacturing in the Yangtze Delta and shipping via Shanghai is simply the most efficient option available. It's a self-reinforcing cycle. The better the port infrastructure, the more attractive the region is for manufacturing, which in turn drives more cargo through the port. Shanghai's dominance, however, isn't an isolated phenomenon. It's part of a broader, deliberate strategy that creates a significant concentration risk for the global economy. China, by virtue of its geography and investment, holds an outsized hand in global shipping. As of recent data, China is home to 4 of the top 5 and 6 of the top 10 busiest container ports globally. Beyond Shanghai, major ports like Ningbo Zhoushan, Shenzhen, and Guangzhou consistently rank among the world's leaders. Ningbo Zhoushan, for instance, located just south of Shanghai, is not only a major container port but also the world's busiest port by cargo tonnage, handling over 1.4 billion tons of freight in 2023. This includes massive volumes of iron ore, crude oil, and coal, in addition to containers. This level of concentration means that a substantial portion of the world's goods flow through a relatively small number of choke points, all within a single nation's control. The implications of this geographic concentration are immense. While it fosters efficiency and reduces costs, it also introduces significant vulnerability into global supply chains. Geopolitical tensions, natural disasters, or even labor disputes in a single Chinese port or region could send ripple effects across the entire planet, causing widespread shortages and price shocks. The world's economic arteries are increasingly channeled through a single geographic region, creating a dependence that few nations can afford to ignore. Shanghai's unparalleled dominance in container shipping is not accidental. It is the direct consequence of an unmatched geographic hand, the vast Yangtze River network, a strategically engineered deepwater port, and the densest manufacturing cluster on Earth. This combination makes it the linchpin of global trade, a role that comes with both immense economic power and significant concentration risk for the world's supply chains. This dependence isn't just a theoretical vulnerability, it's an economic reality deeply ingrained in American commerce and daily life. For decades, major U.S. retailers and manufacturers, from Walmart to Apple, have optimized their supply chains around the unparalleled efficiency offered by ports like Shanghai. The cost savings from China's integrated manufacturing and logistics network directly translate into the competitive prices American consumers expect on everything from electronics and apparel to furniture. Consider the economics. Moving a standard 40-foot container from a factory in Jiangsu province through Shanghai to the port of Los Angeles costs anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 in early 2024, excluding tariffs. While this fluctuates, it has historically remained significantly more cost-effective than sourcing comparable volumes elsewhere. For Nike importing millions of shoes and apparel annually, these savings accumulate into billions, allowing accessible price points for their athletic wear across the US. Similarly, for Apple, whose vast supplier ecosystem often feeds into the Yangtze Delta, the seamless flow of components and finished products through Shanghai is critical for maintaining global profit margins and meeting demand for popular devices. The challenge for the United States isn't just about building more ports, it's replicating an entire integrated ecosystem. America's busiest ports, like Los Angeles and Long Beach, process over 15 million TEUs annually. However, they contend with legacy infrastructure, labor disputes, and inland transportation bottlenecks, while the U.S. has invested in projects like the $1.7 billion Port of Long Beach Pier B rail expansion, or the $1.5 billion Houston Ship Channel expansion. These are localized improvements. They don't match the systemic, nation-spanning integration of China's river, rail, and port network, which has seen trillions of dollars in strategic investment over 2 decades. This means for many U.S. companies, shifting production away from the Yangtze Delta and Shanghai isn't simply finding a new factory. It involves rebuilding an entire supply chain, facing higher labor costs in places like Mexico or the U.S. South, and grappling with less efficient, more expensive internal logistics. For instance, reshoring a fraction of electronics manufacturing could increase consumer prices by 15–30%, according to economic analyses. The China price isn't solely about cheap labor, it's about the total landed cost. where Shanghai's port system plays a starring role in driving that costs down to an almost irresistible level. Ultimately, the global economy's reliance on Shanghai's port infrastructure underscores a fundamental truth about modern trade. Efficiency, when achieved at an unparalleled scale, creates an almost insurmountable competitive advantage. This advantage isn't easily undone, even in the face of escalating geopolitical concerns. In 2023 alone, American companies imported over $427 billion worth of goods from China, with a substantial portion of that volume passing through Shanghai's world-leading port. Nearly 90% of all U.S. children's toys are manufactured in China, most transiting Shanghai's efficient port network. This deep integration means that for companies like General Electric, manufacturing a complex medical imaging device might involve dozens of specialized components sourced from factories within the Yangtze Delta, all converging on Shanghai for efficient global shipment. The sheer volume and variety of suppliers in this region, coupled with Shanghai's logistics, create an ecosystem that is nearly impossible to replicate elsewhere on Earth, offering not just cost savings, but also unparalleled speed to market for sophisticated products. Over 90% of all laptops and tablets sold in the US originate from factories in China, heavily relying on Shanghai's export capabilities. Subscribe to TradeWind, and the next video is waiting for you on screen right now.